Because government corruption, government evil knows no bounds, seemingly. Evidenced by Agent Epstein. Agent Epstein, as I'm calling him. So James O'Keefe has done tremendous work recently. We talked about the scoops that he's been getting on Epstein's Island, going over the stuff that was in Epstein's Island. I think it's only a matter of time before the phone book gets leaked to him, before the black book gets leaked to him. Because what's happened recently, a world exclusive dropped a few days ago of a DOJ Jeffrey Epstein investigator, Glenn Prager. And he got caught on undercover camera, caught on by an undercover journalist, saying and showing that the rapes occurred on Jeffrey Epstein's flight whilst Bill Clinton was on the plane, and whilst some others were on the plane, that Epstein was CIA, he was a CIA asset, that he's protecting a lot of other people, i.e. Trump. He's not protecting himself because there's nothing there. This guy's interviewed all the victims. There's never been an instance where Trump was on the plane when the kids, with these kids and when the rapes occurred, but that cannot be said for Clinton and it cannot be said for others. The DOJ didn't want to go after him, i.e. Epstein, because he's an asset for the United States and Israel. It's not talked about yet, but it soon come out that Epstein was a CIA informant. As you can imagine, the DOJ, a lot of others, they are flipping out over this. Ladies and gentlemen, they are not happy. But the video speaks for itself. And it'll be coming on screen for you now. Video coming on screen now.
It's not talked about yet, but it's soon come out that he was a CIA informant.
He was a CIA.
Oh, he was a CIA. I think he's protecting a lot of other people. He's not protecting himself because there's nothing there, but he's protecting a lot of people. Because Trump's now saying it's a hoax of the case, like a hoax or something. I mean, come on, you know it's not a hoax. He's been on the plane now. Well, it's just he was never on the plane with the kid. I've seen the itineraries and I've interviewed all the victims. There's never been an instance where Trump was on a plane with these kids and a rape occurred. But that can't be said for Clinton and it can't be said for others. While the Clintons were on the plane, while Bill Clinton was on the plane, there were rapes that occurred.
Overheard
How interesting.
at Phoenix Airport on September 8th, 2025, a senior Justice Department investigator who personally worked on the Epstein case tells all. Glenn Prager, who has reviewed Epstein itineraries and has interviewed Epstein's victims, drops a bombshell. He says that the DOJ did not want to go after Epstein because he's a CIA asset, that the evidence from his investigation confirms that Bill Clinton was present for alleged rapes on the Lolita Express, and that President Trump was not present for the rapes that Glenn Prager investigated, but that he...
Why is he protecting them? Is it because he's trying not to collapse the whole political system? I don't know. There's a lot of people that want the political systems to burn because of this stuff, right? Which I fully understand. Don't understand why you're protecting people that have done some of the worst crimes in the history of humanity, right? It's disgusting pedophilic sex trafficking rings, right? That we now know is denied as conspiracy for decades. All right, and now we know, and we have somebody from the DOJ now on undercover camera, saying that, Clinton was on the plane when these kids were getting raped. Why would he be protecting them? Why would he be protecting them? Oh, see, now, maybe, I don't know, maybe Trump was playing this weird, really 400 IQ game, maybe, where he's waiting because he knows how dogged James is. Because he knows how good he is as well. That's the biggest thing, because he knows how good he is and because he can do this undercover journalism stuff that really nobody has been able to really emulate, right? That he was going to discover all this stuff, and now that he has pretty much an airtight alibi in the form of a DOJ operative saying that no, Trump has nothing really to do with it, then maybe now he'll come out and be a lot more, dogged with it. I don't know, but why was he saying it was a hoax? Why is he covering for these people? What else do they maybe have? Is he concerned for, obviously, like his safety, his wife's safety? I don't know. Obviously, I have no idea. I can't imagine what it's like. To be fair, as hard as we've been on Trump and everything like that for how he's handled this, you can't imagine the stress of what's going on when, you're dealing with the most powerful people in the world that don't want this stuff getting out. And we've seen people have been able to hit presidents before. Trump nearly found that out himself, right, in Butler last year. So, again, we've seen that nobody is safe from these people. You're gonna get it, right? If they want you to get it, It was only by the grace of God that Trump managed to survive that. But the interesting part, again, a lot of people were saying that he's a CIA asset. He has links to British intelligence potentially, but he also has links to Israeli intelligence. Very interested to see where this is going to go. But you shared a couple of things there, ladies and gentlemen, a couple of very interesting things. And he said he worked on the case. He used to interview all the victims. There was about 20 to 30 victims in Palm Beach that he was interviewing and dealing with, right? Epstein would pay them and they would go to trial and they would just flip, right? Apparently he's seen the agendas. Trump is not involved in the rapes and stuff. Trump's not involved. He's seen the itineraries. He's interviewed all the victims. There's never been an instance where Trump was on a plane with these kids and a rape occurred. I remember that i.e. the Epstein list, was being killed because I know Clintons were on there. So, ladies and gentlemen, very, very interesting stuff. But the biggest thing is, ladies and gentlemen, as you can imagine, the DOJ come out and tried to disavow it, tried to, I'll see if I can find the official response. Glenn Prager gave actually an official response. I can't find usually that the O'Keefe Media Group, guys who run the page, usually quote with any updates, but they haven't done so. I have seen it. I can't remember what the statement said in itself, though. But as you can imagine, Mr. Prager was not happy, and this is why in the first recording where I likened this, ladies and gentlemen, to the Silence documentary, which Tommy Robinson done. Now, say what you want about him. The Silence documentary truly is something that is quite interesting, isn't it? Because, again, it incorporated a lot of this stuff, undercover recordings, people not realizing that they were being recorded. And as you know, the phrase loose lips sink ships, ladies and gentlemen, is in the public discourse for a reason. And it was, common parlance, if you will, common saying for a while, because it's indeed very, very true. The loose lips in this instance are sinking the Epstein ship, right, that are keeping all these big names afloat from justice. And I get this because one of the big criticisms of this being like, oh, how can we know? But the biggest thing is when people are not being recorded, their responses will often be very, very different. And we saw that in the Silence documentary as well, where when the head teacher, when the teacher that worked with Jamal Hijazi, when the councilman and all these people that were paid, five-figure sums, £20,000, right? Their comments were a lot different off the record than on the record, right? And there was the undercover reporting that Tommy did that exposed that. That's why I believe that gives it a lot of credibility, right? When Piers Morgan, for example, comes out and says that it's all bullshit and all the claims within it are bullshit, you have to understand that he's calling the children that allege that these things happened liars as well. And that's a risky game to play. That's a risky game to play. Because, again, there was a lot of testimony against this, and we know that we have a woke and corrupt judiciary and have done so for a long time, where they will cover for certain people and they will pass verdicts that favour some people and not others. So we have very little reason to trust the judiciary. And then Piers, by saying that the claims within that documentary are all lies and fabrications, right, despite the fact that the contempt of court was not for the claims within the documentary, it was for releasing the documentary, right? That was what the contempt of court thing was for. It's the undercover reporting that really makes it, and what I think adds that little bit of credibility to it. Okay, when people are not realizing that they're being recorded, their responses will be extremely different. As you can imagine, though, Glenn Prager was not happy. Was very much so not happy. When James tried to call him later, after being confronted over his claims that Epstein was a CIA asset, he did not want to talk on the phone, as you can imagine. Here's the follow-up video to that.
Hey there, is this Glenn?
Yes.
You work for the Department of Justice, correct?
No.
You don't work for the Department of Justice. You had a patch on your backpack that said FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, in the airport.
Yeah.
And you talked about how you interviewed the Epstein people, all the Epstein victims. Do you recall that conversation?
I didn't, no. How can I help you?
I wanted to confirm that you, in fact, did work for the department. Hang on with the phone. Let's try calling him again. Glenn?
I'm not talking to you.
Well,
I don't know. I'm not talking to you.
you already did speak to my friend.
See how the context, see how the attitude changes.
I don't know who you are.
I'm a journalist. I need your help, sir.
I'm not talking to you or any journalist about anything.
Did you interview the Epstein victims?
I can't talk to you.
Sir.
So yeah, that tells it all, I think. In my opinion, I think that tells it all, you know, and it just shows you again how much the attitude changed when he likely thought that he was on the record or whatever, is when he was off the record, which is why this undercover reporting is so important, and why I think it gives that silence documentary, and why I think it gives James O'Keefe's reporting that additional layer of credibility. Because they're getting people saying things that they believe when they're in an element of security, when they believe that they're in a safe space, when they believe that they can open up about these things, right? They believe that they're not listening to, they believe that they're not being recorded, there's no tapes, they're not being bugged or anything like that, which odds are these people are being bugged everywhere else on a daily basis, right? There's always foreign governments, there's always other people, maybe even within their own government, that want to bug them to try and get blackmail on them, right? Because blackmail is so effective. Blackmail is so effective, especially the worst kind of blackmail, child sexual abuse blackmail. And we'll see where this goes. I'm looking forward to following this now. Obviously, I've been following this for a little while in past episodes. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. I'm really hoping we will get some kind of justice. I'm really hoping this is going to allow President Trump, now that in a way his name has been cleared again, to really come down hard on this now. To stop calling it a hoax, because it's just disrespectful to the victims. It's disrespectful to people that, when you campaigned on this, it's disrespectful to your voters that you lied to them if it actually is a hoax, right? So I'm hoping now that we will actually get some true answers. But he also hinted as well that there's conflict in the DOJ itself with Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, or I call her Sham Blondie, right? And Kash Patel. There's conflict between those going on behind the scenes, apparently. So again, I hope they just get on the same page and actually get justice for the victims. That's the biggest thing. Like, we don't need to know the details, the exact details of what happened, right? We don't need to see the footage, as Pam Bondi was insinuating. We don't need to see the images, right? We don't need to see any of this stuff. Faces and names. And convictions. That's what people want. That's all we need. That's all we need. Let the victims get their fucking closure, especially the ones that were denied it now because they're dead. Let the victims get their closure, right? Finally, ladies and gentlemen, final story to cap off today, the travesty that is the Senate. We've got to talk about it because, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed that clip, then make sure to go on over to the Voice of the Valleys X page at VOT_Valleys on X. We're also on Instagram at Voice of the Valleys. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon. Godspeed.